Russell.
This is Leisha Holmes, and I'm your host on the Recruiters Recruitment Podcast. And I think there was already laughter before I even pressed record, because you're going to love my next guest. I haven't actually spoken to this chap before, but we've been chatting away for ages on LinkedIn, and he's already just made me smile from ear to ear. I'm already laughing. This is John Russell, otherwise known as JB, or Jack, apparently, if he's being naughty. And he is the European MD for Staffing Future. Welcome to you today, John. Should I call you John or JB? I really don't know what to call you.
You can call me whatever you like, Leisha.
I'm just going to.
I'll answer to all three.
I was going to say you'll answer to all three. So we'll go with John, because that's how people will find you on LinkedIn. So let's be sensible, because we want people to be able to connect to you. So for those who are not yet familiar with you, but they certainly will be by the end of this, tell us a little bit about who you are and what your company does.
So I'm John Russell, been in staffing for 15 or 20 years, been marketing lead in various recruiting businesses, some big, some small, some huge, from Randstad to James Gray Associates to Reed Healthcare, Martin Ward Anderson. So done all that, but I've sort of turned into the supplier side mainly because I found what I was doing when I was taking those roles on was sort of taking the technology stack and redoing the websites and then connecting all of those pieces together to accelerate the sales process for the recruiters on the desks. So I thought, why don't I do that as a job full time? But yeah, I work for Staffing Future now. We design and build recruitment websites. 100% of what we do. We've been going for 5 years, pushed about 250 websites live. We're huge in the States as well as UK and across Europe. We've got 35 staff now, and we've just received investment from Bullhorn, which we're very excited about. That's a bit of an exclusive. So yeah, we're going great guns, and yeah, love what we do.
Yeah, and I honestly, if you're listening to this, you do need to go and watch this. If your energy is exuding out of you. Just a couple of things there. Congratulations, that's amazing, and how wonderful that we got an exclusive. Hope it still is when this goes live. We have a global audience, and actually we have a huge amount. I think it's something like 40% listen to us in America, which is great, because that's your audience too. So hi to everybody that listens over there, and thank you for joining us. And we are looking to push our European community, because at the moment it's probably the smallest percentage of our listeners. So anyone that's got connections over in Europe, get sharing, because this is all relevant across. Now, I love your provenance. I was just saying to you off air, I don't think I've had anyone on the show yet who's got as much to talk about in terms of RecTech as you, which is really exciting. So obviously you're coming on the show today, and we're going to talk about, what every single person listening, it's relevant, because we all use technology. We all have a website, presumably, for our company. So just to set the scene, and I think this is something that I'm saying, this is the parent of Gen Zs, we're in a world of instant gratification. And so websites, I think, in recruitment are almost seen as like an unnecessary expense for a lot of businesses. It's the last place you go and spend your money. So why do you think that is? And what do you think the benefit of having a good website is for recruitment?
I mean, it can be that very much the case, especially if it's been put together quickly and cheaply and it's not really connected. If it's not driving your process and at the heart of everything you do, then it's going to be really hard to generate an ROI or any sales, new inquiries, new business leads, and any candidate flow, because you're competing against things which are technically a lot more advanced. They are a lot updated a lot more often, and therefore your content isn't as fresh, it's not as competitive, it's stale, and it's just a validation of who you are and what your office address is. So for the vast majority, and probably startups and small businesses, I'd put in that camp, where they've sort of pulled something together, they're really proud of it, and then they get back on the phone, because that's what they do. They're sales, and they're on it and reaching out to their network, and probably on LinkedIn or wherever their audiences are dwelling, to harvest their opportunities as well as service candidate flow. So I think one of the big mistakes that, or one of the frustrations that we see, is when you've got an ATS or an applicant tracking system like a Bullhorn, a Job Adder, a Tracker RMS, a Bond Adapt, or whatever it is that you're using, and then not connecting it to your website. And people might think it's connected because you get an email into your Outlook or Gmail, and then you then post that into your ATS, and that's not connected recruiting. That is old style, clunky, manual, open to delay, errors. It's not a smooth and seamless process. And I think once you understand how to leverage technology effectively within your recruiting process, you can then start to engage and embed different technologies into your processes more effectively to make your recruiting process faster, more efficient, more much more reliable, and deliver a lot more output for you as a business within the same amount of roles. We talk about how do you convert the top of the funnel on your website, and the 90% of or 95% of traffic that's not converting. If you can move that 5% or 10% of traffic that is converting and move it from, if it was 5, move it to 10, if it was 10, move it to 20, you can double your candidate flow or double your client flow without spending another dime on marketing or candidate generation. So to not spend effectively where it's needed is part of an education that's needed sometimes. But generally, we work with high growth businesses and scale ups and enterprise businesses that understand the ATS is the internal hub of the business. The website is the external hub of the business. And all of those pieces need to connect as seamlessly as possible to engage, to attract, engage, and convert candidates as well as new clients as effectively as possible.
Yeah, no, I think that's absolutely right. I mean, obviously, I can't possibly let you answer that without mentioning our wonderful sponsor, Cherry. Let's add that to the list of ATS, by the way.
But I've got an integration with those.
Yeah, well, there you go. So Cherry, nice little plug there, but it's true. I think it's really good because I think the comments that you've made there, how many candidates get lost, they fall down between that external engagement into the internal system. And actually, just thinking about the psychology, think about as you're listening to this now, whether you're a recruiter or whether you're a leader and you've been on the job market, what's the first thing you did before you went for your interview? You went on their website, didn't you? You went on the company's website. That's what everybody does. It doesn't matter whether they've got a LinkedIn page, you will still go on that website. So it's not just about attracting candidates, it's also about attracting future talent and employees as well. So I think there's a number of different things there that you've covered off, but actually I wanted to make that point too, because I'm a supplier, I recruit for the recruitment industry. And the amount of times a candidate of mine has said no based on a recruitment company's website, because it's stuck in the dark ages. They've not updated it. It's got that horrible holding page, God forbid. And it's not, they can already see that it's not going to attract the best candidates. So I think I'm validating everything that you said there.
No, absolutely. And that's probably the biggest message to talent that they're trying to hire, candidates that they're trying to engage with, and clients that they're trying to service. You've got those three audiences there. And if a business isn't investing in that technology, then they already know it's probably going to be quite labor intensive and inefficient to engage and follow through with that hiring process. So it's a way to sort of walk the walk, if you know what I mean, and totally. Do the business faster.
It is. And actually, as we record this now in 2022, we're in a candidate short market. Everything's candidate short. We've got a real skill shortage in STEM, recruitment, hospitality. I can't imagine that in my recruitment lifetime, let's say, that will change now. I can't suddenly see for a generation, at least 20 years, how we will plug the gap where it will become engorged with candidates. So I think actually, if you're putting the effort into your creativity and you've got a nice, LinkedIn presence, you're working on your personal brand through Hoxo, obviously our other sponsor, but actually if you're not joining the dots, I think that's what you know, to someone who isn't techie like me, that's what you're doing, isn't it? You're joining the dots so no people don't fall through the net. You go to all that effort to try and get those software developers to connect to your website, but are they actually wanting to click on the contact us or submit their CV?
Exactly, and Hoxo understand that really well, right? So that we work with them as well.
Great.
Working, you know, and they're generating the content and the outreach and doing that brand piece that we don't touch. So we're the platform that lets all of that beautiful content run on rails and driving that efficiency and productivity for the teams.
Good.
To enable, you know, the content and the consultants to fly.
Yeah, no, that's really good. Now, I didn't know that. I didn't know that you partnered with Hoxo on Vincherry. So that just feels like really nice, really sort of warm feeling I've got there. So big shout out to those guys, obviously. So now, yeah, I'm glad that you've mentioned that though. And, you know, we keep alluding to sort of personal brand and that kind of thing. And we've mentioned LinkedIn a few times. So how does social media and our dependence upon it as recruiters, let's face it, if LinkedIn unplugged us all tomorrow, most recruiters would probably have some kind of meltdown. So how do we incorporate that as part of our website and our overall marketing strategy?
I mean, it's one of several channels that you can generate traffic to your site. It's usually very important because it converts well and they're aware of you. But if you think about the sales funnel, the awareness, the, you know, engagement and the conversion and then through to sale, that all starts in discovering your content and discovering your tone of voice and your proposition in whichever channel you are grazing for that information. It might be Google, in which case you need organic traffic. It might be LinkedIn. It might be GitHub or TikTok or whatever. You know, doesn't matter what the channel is. It's where your audience is that you're trying to engage and target that's important, and then therefore you choose to engage with that audience. You've also got performance media or paid advertising that you can do on all those channels, and you've got partners again like Talent Nexus or Red Dot Media or what have you, where you can engage with programmatic to top up that funnel. And service your candidate need with acquisition campaigns, which are based on, you know, very intelligent, very well targeted activity and campaigns that will drive your candidate flow to service your business need or your client business need that they've got. So it's like one of a channel, but if you're going to try and perform on social, yeah, I'd recommend joining something like, you know, grazing as much information from the Hoxo Academy, and also going to Pages, LinkedIn University. You know, that they're smashing at the moment.
I should get them on. Shouldn't I?
Yeah, Darren
O'Reilly
would be delighted. But yeah, we partner with them as well. We've got a deep integration with them.
Brilliant.
You're getting the feeling that we've actually got over 100 integrations.
It's amazing. Yeah, but I love affiliation like this. It's remarkable because it gives you credence, obviously, but it just goes to show. I've actually got, I don't know if anyone else is a visualizer, but I'm imagining, so your website, so what you do as a website development company is you're the shop window. You've then got all the different merchandise, and that's what the social media is. So your merchandise changes all the time. So your shop window doesn't, because that's basic, but you want it to look up to date. You want people to be attracted to it. It needs to be inspirational. It needs to be aspirational, but your merchandise changes on a daily basis. That's your LinkedIn guys, that's your TikTok. And then in the back room, your stock control, that's your Vincherry, that's your ATS system. Do you like that visualization? I do. There you go. Great. You gave me the idea off camera when you started talking about brands. I just thought, actually, that's a really good way, because I'm not technical, but I think that's a really good way to understand why each of those components could not survive on their own. You couldn't have your merchandise without a shop window, and you wouldn't have your merch without the stock control. So there you go.
And it's it's how easy is that shopping experience for your candidates and your clients, and you need to engage with both sets of audiences.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate that. So you mentioned in your introduction that you have been doing this job for a very long time. And I could say in terms of your provenance, I think you are definitely seen as an expert in this. So you will have seen lots of trends come and go, whether it was in your recruitment or marketing or tech career. So what do you think, get your crystal ball out, JB, what is the next big thing we need to focus on? And then the second part of that question is, what do you think we should drop? What is not going to give recruiters an ROI?
I mean, Bullhorn are doing a big push on this, but it's true generally. I mean, I think the pandemic really accelerated the move towards technology and embedding it properly into processes. And then people who didn't have those processes already were becoming a bit unstuck. So it's not about using technology or different technology and buying technology for technology's sake without a purpose, right? You've got to know what that tech is going to do for you and why it's going to add value in your process. But it's more about the connectivity between that different technology and the seamless integration between each of the different technologies that you're using throughout the process, whether that's attraction right at the top of the funnel, using in-browser alerts to push notifications into browsers, so that even when people are not on your website, they'll get a pop-up in their browser, Chrome or Safari, that says, hey, there's a new job loaded up that you've been looking at. They're not even on your site. So you can drive traffic like that. That's a bit of tech we've got coming down the street.
Nice.
As well as, you know, automatic SEO and making sure that all the job URLs and page structures are SEO friendly, but then leveraging as well as that, it's things like the interview process, the interview scheduling process. There is a piece of tech for every piece of the process, and it's just about how do you seamlessly sew that all together into a fluid experience which is really smooth for the candidate and separates you out from the crowd who aren't leveraging technology effectively.
No.
The other thing it does is drives huge gains in productivity, so that you've got the time to hire shrinks and it accelerates, and you service more clients quicker, so you can actually harvest more from your existing staff. That you can drive like 20-30% uplift in time at the blink of an eye if you're effectively adopting technology and implementing it correctly. But you need to have the resources and somebody in the organization or within your supplier base who you trust to be able to do that and then implement it properly. And then what happens if, you know, after they've gone, or, you know, what's the next stage? How do you protect yourself and your business and your processes to iterate them forward when, you know, the next stage comes? I mean, we often, you know, say to clients, where do you see yourself in 12 to 18 months? What's the problem at the moment? What's the heavy luggage in your process? What's slow, clunky, inefficient, crappy? And let's focus on that first, because that's going to give you the ROI. That's going to give you the best win for you. And then you can iterate your process and shave 1 or 2% or improve 1 or 2% month on month, rather than waiting for 6 months to make a 5 or 10% gain. You know what I mean? So it's much better to do little bits, take little bits on, do small achievable goals where you can realize a target and make some hay, move forward with your process, shorten things or accelerate things, and do it that way, rather than massive projects that take a long time to deliver and are clunky and inefficient.
So I'll tell you what, forget what the actual topic we're talking about. So just as a life lesson in terms of achieving tasks, that's exactly what you should be doing anyway. It's very, very, but I like that, because I think very often, certainly whether it's candidates or clients, actually, they don't have those touch points. They are, they're told about an interview, they get an email confirmation, and then they never hear from the recruiter. And it's just like, there's your offer, like, see you later. So I think it's really good that they're going to go on this journey, and it reflects much better on the recruiter. But I love the productivity focus, because I think most recruiters listening, let's face it, if we can get from A to Z without, the headache of worrying that all these things are happening, and we can then focus on what we enjoy doing, which is the people engagement side. So I think it's all valid points. You didn't ask me about what you think we should be dropping. You need to answer that as well. What do you think we should stop doing, or what tech? What do you think?
Anything paper, anybody, like, people are focused on mobile apps and things like that. I'd just be like, why? Websites are really responsive and mobile friendly, mobile first very often. So focusing on an unnecessary tech that actually doesn't add value to your business, even if you've been sold to, and it's amazing, the best thing since sliced bread. But one thing, one of my pet hates, if you like, is we don't want to be a recruitment business. We don't want to look like a recruitment business, right? But actually, the candidate expectation and the client expectation is that you're a fucking recruitment business. That
is what you are. You're not a shop. So
service that need and that demand and do it really well, right? Yeah, you can be original and all the rest of it, but there's a certain amount of user expectation and user experience that conversion focused design follows. And when you're sort of asked to break that, then it's sort of like we'll push back, but we wouldn't, you know what I mean? Of course, we'll do what the client wants, but
of course you do.
We advise them strongly against it sometimes.
I don't know if you saw, I very dramatically threw my pen, because I like to use pen and paper, but I hear what you're saying. And actually, it's not one size fits all. What might work for your business might not work for another business around the corner. I know myself, it's tried and tested. I might try something in my business, and actually I can see my clients using it, and I'm like, wow, this is amazing. And then I try it, and I'm like, actually, it doesn't provide an ROI. But you've got to try these things, but be prepared to then say, that's not going to work.
Cut and run, quickly.
And just on that last point, I know we talked about that off camera before we were going to talk about it. I mean, let's say it as it is. If you're a recruitment company and you place candidates into jobs, stop being wanky about it. You're a recruitment company, let's face it. Say what you are. If you want to talk about your USP, that's fine, but don't say something that you're not. I just find that really irritating.
Everybody hires the best talent, fast, and puts them into role and has a massive candidate database, right?
I know.
What's different about you?
Just it's your people. That's what makes you different. But I find that point now, I found that really funny. So what would obviously this has all been really insightful, and I've really enjoyed getting to know you, and I think you're making certainly somebody like myself, who's not necessarily as tech savvy as some other business owners, but I think I'm doing what I can. You're definitely educating me, so I know that there will be listeners, and I always say if we can educate one listener, then we've served our purpose, haven't we? There you go. That's one. Hello to you. So before we finish, what would your top tips be for those leaders listening, but also anyone that's looking at maybe thinking about setting up on their own, for ensuring they have a solid strategy for integrating their website into their full marketing strategy?
I mean, it starts off with knowing what the plan is, right? So if you don't plan, you plan to fail, and that includes understanding your audience, where they are, how they like to engage. It's also how you should best communicate to that audience, as well as understanding that message might need to evolve and iterate as your markets or specialisms get added or focus changes or what have you. But it's really about articulating that message and being consistent about that, and visibly consistent, which brings us back to the social media point. But it's more about, looking at where you're trying to aim for, executing consistently to get there, and then embedding a process powered by technology, not hindered by it, to help you get there faster and cut out all the busy work that you should not be doing.
Yeah,
that definitely would be, my sort of top tip.
I love it. It was absolutely, that's really insightful, and it's been wonderful getting to know you. And who knew that our worlds had collided so much? But if that isn't recruitment in itself, really appreciate you talking to us today on the Recruiters Recruitment Podcast. Thank you so much.
Thanks very much for having me, Alicia.